Most Americans have heard of the Boston Massacre, but few have heard of the violent prelude to the infamous event just 11 days earlier. Boston was incredibly concerned about parliamentary legislation in this period that impacted what they considered the normal way of doing business. Many merchants and consumers had come together and agreed to a non-importation boycott of British goods, hoping that impacting Britain's economy would influence their government to back off. Theophilus Lilly was one of the relatively few merchants in town who continued to import and sell British goods, making him and his import shop in the North End targets of mobs. On February 22, 1770, a group of mostly young men and boys gathered outside the shop to harass customers for defying the non-importation agreement. One of those customers was Ebenezer Richardson. He was already a marked man in the community, as it was well known that he was informing British authorities about smuggling violations in the area. The crowd taunted Richardson and chased him back to his nearby home. With a violent crowd outside likely threatening him with a tarring and feathering, he was understandably on edge. Rocks were pelting his house until one made its way through a window and struck Richardson's wife. The cornered customs informer fired his musket into the crowd and struck an 11-year-old who had just joined the commotion on his walk home. The boy would die that night. The young Christopher Seider's death put an already tense Boston further on edge. Samuel Adams took advantage and put on an elaborate funeral for the boy, and just 11 days later, another Boston mob gained infamy when British soldiers fired into the crowd in an event that was quickly labeled the Boston Massacre. Richardson would go on trial and be found guilty of murder, but a royal pardon came in 1772 that spared his life on grounds of self-defense. Christopher Seider is sometimes considered the first American casualty of the American Revolution.